pull up a chair, pour yourself something warm, and leave the rush of the modern world behind. Deep within the heart of an ancient forest, where time moves just a little bit slower, lies the sleepy medieval village of Oakhaven. It's a place of whispered legends, amber-lit taverns, and secrets waiting to be uncovered beneath the shade of the great oaks. Today, we're stepping through the village gates to get lost in a cozy tale. So wrap yourself in a blanket, get comfortable, and let's begin our journey. The sun did not so much set over Oakhaven as it melted, dripping like warm, golden tallow into the cracks of the cobblestone streets. It was the hour when the shadows grew long and soft, stretching across the market square like sleepy cats. Oakhaven was a cozy town, tucked into the gentle curve of a misty valley, surrounded by ancient whispering woods. Its houses were a tumble of whitewashed plasters and dark timber beams leaning against one another like tired friends sharing a heavy secret. At this hour, the frantic bustle of the day was nothing but a fading echo. The blacksmith's anvil had fallen silent an hour ago, replaced by the soft, rhythmic hush-hush of a broom sweeping stray sawdust from the carpenter's stoop. High above, in the bell tower of the old stone chapel, Father Thomas gave the evening bell a single, lazy tug. The note that rang out was not a sharp command, but a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through the twilight air, carrying with it the scent of old parchment and beeswax. It was the curfew bell, not a warning to lock the gates against monsters, but an invitation to rest. Down in the square, Barnaby the baker wiped his flour-dusted hands on his apron. His shop, the Golden Crumb, was venting its last breath of the day, a warm, intoxicating cloud of baked yeast, roasted cinnamon, and caramelized sugar. The scent drifted lazily down the lane, wrapping around anyone who walked by like a heavy wool blanket. Barnaby closed the heavy oak shutters, the wood grooving into place with a satisfying, muffled clack. He didn't bother locking it with force. The town was already snoring. A few doors down, the sign of the Sleeping Fox Tavern was living up its name. Inside, the air was thick with the rich, comforting smell of roasted root vegetables and simmering beef broth. A low fire crackled in the hearth, its orange embers pulsing like a slow heartbeat. The patrons were not rowdy tonight. Master Nicholas, the town weaver, sat in a deep-seated chair by the hearth, his fingers loosely curled around a horn mug of mulled cider. The spiced steam rose in tiny eddies, warming his nose. Across from him, old Martha was knitting a blanket of thick, undyed sheep's wool. The rhythmic, repetitive click-clack of her wooden needles acted as a metronome for the room. Nobody spoke in full sentences. Nicholas grunted, shifting his weight. "Aye," Martha replied, without looking up. Her eyelids were heavy, fluttering down to kiss her cheeks before she forced them open again. A large orange tabby cat named Marmalade lay stretched across the hearthstone. He was so relaxed he looked less like a cat and more like a puddle of ginger fur. Every few minutes his front paws would twitch in a dream of chasing field mice, and a deep, rumbling purr would vibrate through the floorboards, soothing the ankles of anyone sitting nearby. Outside, the cobblestones were cooling, releasing the heat they had gathered from the afternoon sun. A gentle breeze, carrying the damp, cool kiss of the nearby river, crept through the alleyways. It rustled the dried herbs hanging from the eaves of the apothecary's shop. Bundles of lavender, chamomile, and sweet marjoram swayed gently, shedding microscopic droplets of scent into the evening air. To breathe in Oakhaven right now was to inhale a lullaby. Up the winding hill, past the well where the water lapped sleepily against the mossy stones, lived Elspeth. She was a young girl tasked with carding wool, but tonight the wool was winning. She sat on a three-legged stool by her bedroom window, a basket of unspun fleece at her feet. It was incredibly soft, looking like low-hanging clouds captured from the mountain tops. Elsbeth leaned her chin on her palm, watching the first stars blink awake in the indigo sky. They were not brilliant or piercing tonight. They were soft, blinking slowly behind a thin veil of evening mist. She reached down, her fingers sinking into the lanolin-rich wool. It was warm. Everything was warm. Her breath fogged the window pane slightly, a tiny cloud that cleared just as slowly as she exhaled. Down on the perimeter of the town, the night watchman, old Gregory, began his rounds. He carried a long wooden pike and a small horn lantern. The candle inside flickered lazily behind a pane of scraped oxhorn, casting a dim, amber glow across his path. Gregory's boots made a slow, rhythmic thud, thud, thud on the dirt track. He wasn't looking for thieves. There hadn't been a thief in Oakhaven since the great pumpkin shortage of 3 winters ago. No, Gregory's job was simply to be a moving reassurance. As he walked, he sang a low, droning evening hymn under his breath, a song his grandfather had taught him. It had no sharp consonants, only long, rolling vowels that blended with the wind. He paused by the stable doors of the coaching inn. Inside, the great dray horses shifted their massive weight in the straw. One of them let out a long, fluttering sigh through its nostrils, a loud, vibrating puff that rippled through the quiet night. The smell of sweet hay and clean manure was earthy and grounded, a reminder that the world was safe and at rest. Gregory smiled, his eyes crinkling into small slits, and continued his slow march. By now, the hearth fires in the houses were burning down to nests of glowing red coals. The residents of Oakhaven were slipping beneath heavy, quilted blankets stuffed with goose down. The beds were high and soft, smelling of sunshine from being dried on the lines that morning. In the tavern, The final embers gave a soft pop, releasing a lonely spark that floated up the chimney into the night. Master Nicholas had long since closed his eyes, his chin resting comfortably against his chest. Martha had sat her knitting in her lap, her hands resting still upon the unfinished wool. Even the tavern keeper was leaning against the bar, his eyes half closed, listening to the steady, rhythmic breathing of his patrons. No one wanted to ruin the perfect stillness by moving. The mist from the river was rising now, a soft white blanket creeping over the stone walls and pooling in the streets. It muffled what little sound was left. The distant hoot of a tawny owl in the woods was soft, rounded by the fog, sounding less like a bird and more like the breath of the forest itself. Oakhaven was asleep. The timber beams groaned a final, comfortable groan as they settled into the cool night air. The stars blinked one last time through the fog, and the town drifted into a deep, dreamless slumber, cradled by the valley, washed in lavender and tucked in by the night.